are living in times where the new wealth is highly concentrated in a few people's hands, and there is a new language of oligarchy emerging. Now, in my country, I've analyzed the handful of new oligarchs who've made it to the 10 top billionaires, grabbed the land of the people, benefited from the privatization of electricity, so poor people have lost access to electricity.
So the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer as a result. Are you seeing a clear link there?
It's totally interconnected, because if water is privatized, of course one company makes more wealth, but people get cholera because they lost their access to drinking water. If feed is patented and privatized, 250,000 Indian farmers commit suicide. Debt.
I think the figure is, what, 270,000 have killed themselves over the last 15 years. Debt,
all related to mechanisms of creating wealth by taking away the commons of the people.
Van Dana?
Yeah, I think to begin with the argument of opportunity, when the beginning of poverty, the root of poverty and the root of absolutely obnoxious wealth in concentrated form, the 1%, 99% that the Occupy movement refers to, ignores the fact that opportunities are deliberately being closed for people, creating a new poverty. When you take away the land that a farmer can use to provide food for their family, that's a source of poverty. When you privatize water, electricity, that's closing the opportunity. And I think the injustice built into the idea of creating a new growth by commodifying that which was accessible to people in their resources, in their livelihoods, in their commons, in their public systems, that I think is vital, because growth everyone is now talking about as a mismeasure. It doesn't talk about how the growth was created, how many forests did you destroy, and the fact that instead of a trickle down, we have a grab up.
I don't think it's just a matter of saying, look, there are these nasty people at the top who do this here, and everyone else has their resources grabbed off them.
But, Tony, it's not about nasty people up there. It's a nasty process that entrenches
It sounded
injustice.
like you were saying there were nasty people at the top, though. Not all rich people are nasty,
no,
are they?
I don't think they have to be
Some
extra
create
bad
wealth.
when the system allows them to grab the resources
question
of the people. But I think the most important issue really is this. India, like China, has had very high growth figures. In this period of high growth, India beat Africa in the number of hungry people. We become the Republic of Hunger. Why? Because land was taken from people. Why? Because our public universal system of food distribution was...
I think Ovi has put her finger on the problem of poverty. It's actually inequality of power. You have people with more power than the others, and therefore they have more access to the opportunities that Tony is talking about and to the resources that she is talking about. And in my own country, in South Africa, this is very, very clear. South Africa, in the middle of the 19th century, David Livingstone came here, and one of the things that struck him was the health of the African population. And David Livingstone was a doctor, and he pointed out that the South African black population is much, much healthier than the British population. Today, we are one of the most disease-ridden populations.
You've got the highest level of HIV, AIDS
with
infection.
HIV, with tuberculosis, with all sorts of infectious diseases, because of inequality of power.
Ms. Buleng Linkabula, I'm from the University of South Africa. I'm a bit troubled sometimes when you talk about governance issues and corruption immediately jumps up in the context of Africa, because the debate never really reaches out. Who are the bribers when the bribed are allowed to actually exploit their own societies?
Who is it in your view?
I'm giving an example.
Briefly, if you would, yes. Who are the bribers in your view? Briefly.
Some of the multinational companies that are claiming themselves to be promoting economy or participating in Southern Africa. The whole cases of corruption in South Africa of the French companies buying opportunities.
Yeah, but you know now.
These are governance issues that we...
Governance cannot and is never ever divorced from the way the economy is controlled and run. The economic elite is also the political elite that undermines democracy. So therefore, accountability is impossible, and it serves the interest of the economic elite, which is economic extraction.
Listening to Ovi, we used to say there has to be a revolution. The governance in Africa, we've had African independence for 50 years. In our own country, we've had a democratic government for 18 years. But what is changing for the people of Africa? Very little, because the elite are blocking.
And the poor everywhere, also in South Asia.
And they're blocking the system. But now, how do we remove this blockage? Well, I think the consensus coming out of here is that we really, first and foremost, need the redistribution of political power. As long as we don't have a redistribution of political power that incorporates the people at the bottom of the pyramid, we will never overcome poverty. Because the ones at the top of the pyramid want to keep it that way.
To an end to this debate on why poverty, also to my audience.